the theological understanding behind created and uncreated, and what are the practical implementations of actually believing in these two different theories?
Yeah, I mean, in both in early Christianity and in early Islam, what they said was that there is a creation of God. But then there is the word of God who is not from his creation. Who is not God, but who is, what they would say, but proceeds from his essence. The way they would explain is that you create something and then you speak. Your word is not you, but your word is not your creation. So there was a debate on this sense. In Sufi terminology, especially in Wahdatul Wujud, it gets a bit diluted because even the world, the whole world, becomes nothing but a manifestation of the eternal truth, which is God. But strictly in Christian, in mainstream Christianity and mainstream Sunni Islam, the belief about Quran and Jesus and Quran respectively is that their spiritual essence is not a part of creation of God, is a part of, proceeds from the essence of God. Even there is still, we can go even one step further, because according to many schools, especially many Sufi schools of Sunni Islam, the reality of the word of God becomes the spiritual essence of the Prophet. So in this sense, they don't only say that Quran is the uncreated word of God, they would say Torah, Injil, everything is the uncreated word of God. So in this sense, they would agree with Christians in the idea that the spiritual essence of Jesus is the uncreated word of God. Where they would disagree is that he is uniquely so. But the word of God in Quran is used for Jesus, and these would be theological nitpickings. The most important thing is we all can agree that Jesus is whatever you mean by word of God, and he is not the creator of heavens and earth, who in Christianity we would call as God the Father. Yeah.
I think
Sorry.
I think part of the question maybe was, why did it matter so much to people? It doesn't seem to matter to me, actually.
Whether it's uncreated or created?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter to me, you see. I think it's an over-involvement with Greek theology. I am personally, my views of God are very close to Wahdatul Wujud's view of God. So this distinction is also immaterial for me.
Maybe you can explain what we should.
Okay. Oh, that's again a very complex theology. But the idea would be this: that the world we see, the way I look at it is that the most essence of reality is God. You see, so this distinction is also not that important. But why I had to spell this distinction out very clearly? I'm not defining Wahdatul Wujud properly. That would possibly need another full talk. But yeah, why this distinction is, and I think in an explanation of Wahdatul Wujud, maybe in a future talk, I can show you how atheism and theism also at fundamental level is a linguistic error. But that would be a separate question altogether. But let's come to this one. Why it matters is because for people it matters. They have been killing each other and breaking each other's head on this. This has been one of the most debated things in both early Islam, early Christianity, and now when Christians and Muslims debate each other, the biggest thing, or even try to have a dialogue with each other, the biggest obstacle is the nature of Jesus. Is Jesus created? Is he uncreated? Is he the Son of God? Is he the messenger of God? What is he? And this is why it is important, because for some people certainly these theological things are very important.
I think you said that it's kind of universal amongst Christian sects that he's Jesus is the created word of God, or however you said it. But there are sects of Christianity which say, based on the Bible, that I and my Father are the same. Where Jesus said, I and my Father are the same.
All Christians say that, but when they say that, you see, that's same in all Protestant Christians and theologians. But when they say same, they mean we are from the same essence, not the same person.
But I think that could be a massive area of difference between Christians and Muslims, because although I agree with your points on if you change the words and everything that you said, many Christians would say, but Jesus said, I and my Father are the same.
Yeah, but by same, they mean from the same essence. And if you see Sunni theology, it says Quran is proceeds from the same essence as God. So when they say same, by this same, they don't mean the same person. No Christian would say, I mean, no sophisticated Christian would say that who understands Christian theology well, that I and my Father are the same means that Jesus is the same person as God. They would say Jesus is of the same essence as God, which is the same thing what Sunni theologians would say about Quran.
But then in the Apostolic Church and the Pentecostal Church, which is these are some of the biggest forms of Christianity in the West today, they actually believe in no distinction between in the Trinity.
You see, there is a particular church, Oneness Church, for example.
Yeah, Oneness.
Yeah. That is modalism. But that modalism would be rejected by Islam, and it would also be rejected by mainstream Christianity. All Catholics would reject it as heresy. All Protestants would reject it as heresy, and all Orthodox Christians would reject it as heresy.
I'm just thinking, who are we going to be debating with? Because if it's Christians on the street, it will be these kind of people.
No, but you see, Christians on the street, they don't understand what it means. If we explain it to them, we would not need to debate. You see, if you look at the letter of prophet, it would not prompt a debate, it would prompt understanding. It would say, well, if all you want to say is this, fine. I mean, I have had this experience. I've talked to Christians on internet, and they go like, okay, we agree with you.
Yeah.
You see, this letter, if you see carefully how clever Prophet Muhammad was in this letter, he did not use the word messenger of God, because you see, messenger in Islam, in Sunni Islam actually means what a son of God would mean in Christianity, somebody who bears the word of God. In Christianity, it just means something equivalent to a wali. So when you say messenger of God, you're suddenly saying, it would be like saying, oh, Muhammad is just a wali, he's a waliullah. You would go like, no, he's the messenger of God, he inherits the divine text is his spiritual essence, and things of that sort. So, and in this letter, he never uses the word, and Jesus, the son of Mary, is the prophet of God. He uses very Christian terminology. It's a very, very nicely posed letter. This letter, there is no debate, or no Christian would reject it, and it's the essence of Apostles' Creed. The thing you're saying is Oneness Church, Oneness Church is a very small heresy, it's dying, and it's strongly rejected by mainstream Christianity. It's like saying, Alavis represent all Muslims or something, something of that sort.
Sorry, we're going to have to rush it.
You said you don't believe in miracles, right?
Yes.
So was Jesus a miracle to Virgin Mary or not?
Okay, I to be fair on this, because I'll first put the mainstream Muslim belief before I put my belief, which is a small sect. So because the aim of my talk is to create a dialogue, I don't want to create confusion. Mainstream Muslims and mainstream Christians agree that Jesus was had a virgin birth. They agree even on the second coming. My beliefs are different. You see, for me, nowhere in Quran it explicitly, or even in Bible, it explicitly, if I remember correctly, it explicitly says that Jesus had a virgin birth. Go to the verse where it says, oh, no man has touched me, and Mary gives a physical explanation to why she can't have a son. In the same surah, Zachariah gives a physical explanation to why he can't have a son. Almost similar conversation. So I would say that if Mary had a son without a husband, then did Zachariah have a son without a wife?
Can I make a point there, because it's relevant? Actually, what brought me to start reading religious literature was when I found out about 20 years ago that the word virgin back then simply meant young woman.
Yes.
It did not mean never having had sex. It meant what we would call a maiden, a young woman today.
In Germany, it still does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in Quran, all it says, there is no word virgin. All it says is, how can I get a son when no man has touched me? She could have got married later on and had a son. The same, a physical explanation is given by Zachariah, and he had a son by a wife, of course. Yes.
So considering the fact that Jesus never had a biological father, so he had only 23 chromosomes.
Okay. Yes. This is, you see, for people who believe in miracles, they would have a problem with this. Even though I must admit, there is a very good explanation found by Tahir Ahmad on that.
How many chromosomes did he have then?
No, but that's the thing, you see. And the thing is, he was a man. A woman only has XX. Of course, you could say that Mary had XXY, passive, but still the question is, I don't believe in miracles. You see, I don't believe laws of nature are broken.
I know, but how many chromosomes?
He was a normal man, and in my personal beliefs, I think Mary was married, and she had a father. Jesus had a biological father. But that's my belief. This is not the belief of mainstream Christians and Muslims.
She was not touched by man.
You see, the verse says she's like, how can I have a son when I'm not touched by man? The verse doesn't say what will happen afterwards. The afterwards she would go and marry a man.
I think that is just showing her naivety at the time. That she was pure.
Her innocence.
Then she doesn't become unpure by having sex to have a child. It's just showing that she was pure at that time, spiritually pure. How can I have a man I've never been touched? How can I have a child I've never been touched?
I think what people are trying to say is that at the time of her getting that message, she was probably a virgin, but that later on, when she had Jesus in Islam, at that point she would have had sex. So at the point of revelation to her,
The word would have is a theory.
She became married, didn't she?
at a later time. So when she got the first message, she was a virgin. But when she had Jesus at that point later on,
She was
she
married.
was married. So it could be in 2 years, in 3 years,
Do we
because
know
we
she
don't
was
know.
married?
Yeah,
Dude,
you
you're
said-
asking about the chromosomes for God's sake. How do you
Yeah.
know the
Because as you know, the Quran doesn't say 2 years later or 9 months later she had a birth. We don't know for fact that 9 months exactly after the message was given that Isa alayhi salam was born.
And in
it could have
Bible-
been 5 years, it could have been 10 years. Maybe she had the message when she was 13, and at 20 she had Isa alayhi
Yes,
salam.
that's what I
I
think
think
it
that's-
is.
that's
It's
the
a stage of
discussion.
development.
But
So
at
we
that
said-
first point, what was the reason for saying that? How could I have a son? What was the reason?
To show her innocence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was a stage of innocence,
Someone
and
asking
then
that,
she
or-
develops.
For example, if you say
People
to a
still ask
12-year-old, you're going to have a son, they go,
How?
how am I going to have a son? I have, a 12-year-old
Yeah.
has never had sex. A 12-year-old's response would be the mental capacity at that age. For example, that could be
But
an
do we have
explanation.
any information that she was eventually married or that she had a husband?
In Bible, yes. In Bible she was married.
Bible is not a word of God.
Okay.
Oh,
The Quran says
Gospel,
it is.
gospel is, Bible is not.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm really very sorry. We have like half an hour and one more
Can I
presentation.
have one more question?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Sorry. Just a question on you grouping Muslims and Jews together in
Yes.
this discussion. But within the Quran, Surah Tawbah 9, verse 30, the first line says the Jews call Uzair a son of Allah. So how does that fit into your...
Okay, yeah, that's a very interesting thing. What many, and I think this would be the best explanation. What many theologians have said is that at the time of Medina, there might have been a sect of Jews which actually believed that Uzair was the son of God, because modern Jews don't believe Uzair is the son of God in any form. Or it could have been a very generic reference to the word son of God. But I think the second one is better. That in that time in Medina, and people I think had researched that there were a group of Yemeni Jews also who believed Uzair was, the son of God in that sense. But yeah, so it could be referring to that. Yeah.